Welcome back to the show, everybody. Let's talk about this for a second. First door was the retail investor. Second door was the institutional investor and investment banks. And you know what? Major news on that front today. And here's something else. Door number 3, central banks. It's closer than you think. Let's roll that beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove and all the things that we're talking about here today. Let's go ahead and get into this. So right now, Bitcoin sitting over 40,000. Love seeing that $1 trillion plus market cap. And XRP sitting at 32 cents right now, 42.98%. up from the 7-day. That's fantastic. After everything it's been through so far, I'm loving that. So here we go. And I think this too shall soon pass. But shout out to Cryptopolis. And we've been jammed up with schedules. It's been tough, but I missed doing the show with him. And I did recently speak to him, but I wanted to celebrate him and say that he has just completed his 2021 crypto forecast report. And you can get it right there on my Twitter. I have shared that. Make sure you support him on that. And let's go ahead and look at this. Guys, if you want to know and get a good overview, 12 minutes and 27 seconds, what the Flare Network really is. What is it? Flare Community YouTube channel has put out an amazing video on it. And I just wanted to celebrate them. So go search the Flare Network. What is it? Flare Community YouTube channel. Shout out to them. It's a fantastic video. Go watch that. Now let's get into this really quickly right here, okay? Because breaking, investment bank Morgan Stanley buys 10.9% stake in business intelligence firm MicroStrategy with over $2 billion in Bitcoin. How about that? First comes the retail market. We've been here all along. Then comes the institutional money investment banks, and here they are. Next coming is the central banks. Don't believe it. It's still true. We're going to take a look at it in just a second. Here we have Flare Fusion letting everybody know we don't need to wait 5 years for a major bank or central bank to issue USD at scale on the Ripple XRP ledger. It can literally be set up in a couple of days, if not hours, letting the US OCC know this. The infrastructure is already here. It's decentralized, ready for use. The wallet is here too. Now listen. This is a reminder right here that, you know, all this infrastructure is in place, and we know this, and we're about to see even more information here going globally. Look at the UK and what they say, because they are way further along in the regulatory clarity side of this whole issue with cryptocurrency and stablecoins. UK Finance Ministry opens consultation on regulating stablecoins and cryptocurrency. The Treasury wants to regulate the crypto space like traditional payment services, and said that digital currencies had clear benefits over the current monetary system. Uh-oh, you know what that means? They're going to use it. That's what it means. They're going to use it. Yeah. Because in business and in payments, whether it's banking or otherwise, you're not going to look at the solution that can save you money and benefit you sitting right across the table there and go, nah, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to keep doing it the old way, the cost of, you know, where it's not cost efficient and it's costing us money and all of this. But that is not the way it works. And this is the biggest signal right here coming from the UK Finance Ministry, letting you know digital currencies had clear benefits over the current monetary system. They will be using it. You can write that down. Here we have Anders L. here who says, I wonder what Ripple are up to. 3 open job positions for working with central banks, London, New York, and San Francisco. Also a chief economist and senior policy manager for APAC. Take a look at this. Now you look at that. Even with the SEC Ripple lawsuit, they're still marching forward because they understand what they do and who they are going to be doing it for. That's why you would need a chief economist and technical partners to help with the onboarding of central banks and stablecoins or CBDCs to your network. You know why Ripple's not hiring an underwater casket maker? Because they don't need one. But they do, however, need technical partners to help central banks onboard onto the ledger and a chief economist to keep it all straight. Because at the end of the day, XRP's money. And it could still have a different designation, but it's still going to be effective as currency. So here we go. Ripple CTO says bank can issue stable coins on XRP ledger, acknowledging the OCC's decision that granted banks permission to support stablecoins on public blockchains. Ripple CTO David Schwartz stated that the XRP ledger can be used to support issuance of stablecoins. And he brought that up because it is in alignment with the OCC and Brian Brooks. Don't believe it. It's still true. Like I said, first it's the retail investors. Then it's the institutions and now the investment banks. Door number 3 is the central banks. SEC acknowledges that the XRP use as fuel. Blah, blah. Let me try this again. SEC acknowledges XRP's use as fuel to cross-border payments, says Ripple General Counsel. This is Stuart Alderati making a very clear point here, and let's go right to it. ODL involves a transaction in which a money transmitter in a sender's jurisdiction converts fiat currency into XRP, transfers the XRP to a recipient's jurisdiction, and converts the XRP into the fiat currency of that local area, right? Typically, instead of holding XRP directly, money transmitters who may use ODL would rely on market makers in the sender's and recipient's jurisdiction to trade in and out of XRP in about 90 seconds or less. The point here is that the SEC acknowledges the utility of XRP and how it is really the epitome of a convertible virtual currency. What I wanted to say about this is this. I don't believe the SEC lawsuit is a question of whether XRP has utility or not. I believe that the lawsuit really understands, and the SEC clearly understands that, XRP, in order to get its value at some point to serve the needs of the central bank and the system that we're at, is going to need to be collateralized. The question for me is, does collateralizing the ledger to provide a floor price or price set, what you could consider a price set, constitute XRP becoming a derivative security at that point? Let me ask the question, because a derivative security is a financial security with a value that is reliant upon or derived from an underlying asset or group of assets. So my question is, I believe that the SEC understands that central banks are preparing to launch CBDCs off the ledger, as Brad Garlinghouse has mentioned. And in doing so, they will be collateralizing the ledger to launch their own central bank network. That's what I think the hang-up is. And if that is the case, then the security conversation is not anything to do at all with having ownership in Ripple, the company. The question may be at hand is that it has the utility of a convertible virtual currency, a la stablecoin, but a stablecoin that would be backed by many, many different kinds of assets. And if that be the case, does that qualify that instrument to be looked at as a derivative security or something of that nature, right? Because here's what else we know. We also know that the IMF has a document that they put out, and I think it was September of 2020 or October, around that time frame. And this has a classifications of crypto assets. And if you follow it down here, you can see hybrid tokens, utility tokens, asset security, debt security. If an issuer recognizes liability and pay interest, right? If issuer recognizes liability and holder have property rights, you know, it could qualify for more than one of these classifications depending on the transaction. It is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But what my point there is that I believe that this court case is about the issues that I just laid out, and less the idea of you know, having ownership to ripple the company. I don't believe that at all. Now, coming to the regulator side of this thing, let's get a listen of these 3 different clips here from Mickey B. Fresh, who lays it out just amazing. And shout out to Mickey B. Fresh. We got to get him back on this show very soon. But listen to what he says here, just about how long these people in these jobs have known one another. And just listen.
Making our regulations. I think we're certainly open to having that dialogue with the SEC. I mean, one of the things we didn't talk about was in our strategic plan. We make very clear that working with the SEC, and if at all possible, making our regulations consistent on many areas where they overlap, was incredibly important. My hope is that one day in the near future, we will even have a joint open meeting with the SEC for the first time in our 45 years of existence, where we can actually vote on something together, because the 2 agencies, while we've been together on many issues, we've also been apart on many issues. And so one of our desires, in order to help empower innovation and also make life easier for market participants, is to converge where it makes sense to converge. So this I would put as a sort of a potential topic in that larger conversation with the SEC.
Okay, now let's play this next clip here and listen to this.
And then also the FSB, for example, has a stablecoin working group to look at specific issues like that. So
the FSB that he just mentioned is a regulatory agency off the international body, the G20.
All of these issues are facing us all at once. And my view is that it's not like regulators can say, well, we're going to stop the technology. The technology is coming. So it's either up to the regulator to catch up or to fall behind. There's no stopping the technology. And that's why it's so important. Well, we're going to stop the technology. The technology is coming. So it's either up to the regulator to catch up or to fall behind. There's no stopping the technology. And that's why it's so important that we work together, because we don't want a situation where the technology goes to a jurisdiction that doesn't have the kind of regulation that can protect consumers against harm and also stave off some bad practices. So it's really important, all the more so, that we work together at the international level. Yeah.
We work together, not only work together, but work together at an international level. Well, what operates at an international level? Cross-border payments and settlement and central banks. That's the reason everybody's on fire on the regulatory side to get this thing hammered out. And I believe that it actually is hammered out much further than we realize. Listen to this final clip here from Heath Tarbert from the CFTC.
And the vision is very simple. It's to be the global standard for sound derivatives regulation. So whatever it is, the CFTC, we want to be that global standard. We want to be the standard that everyone else looks to when you think standard for sound derivatives regulation. So whatever.
Did you hear what he said? The sound global standard.
And the vision is very simple. It's to be the global standard for sound derivatives regulation. So whatever it is, the CFTC, we want to be that global standard. We want to be the standard that everyone else looks to when you think standard for sound derivatives regulation. So whatever it is, the CFTC, we want to be that global standard. We want to be the standard that everyone else looks to when you think about issues involving the derivatives markets. And that's going to mean that we need to keep pace. And so where that will take us, no one really knows, but the future generations. But really what we have to do is right now instill a culture that values innovation and that values harnessing technology for sound regulation. And so the future is unwritten, but that is our guiding principle.
Listen to this one more time here, and I'm going to show you something while he says it.
And the vision is very simple. It's to be the global standard for sound derivatives regulation. So whatever it is, the CFTC, we want to be that global standard. We want to be the standard that everyone else looks to when you think standard for sound derivatives regulation. So whatever it is, the CFTC, we want to be that global standard. We want to be the standard that everyone else looks to when you think about issues involving the derivatives markets. And that's going to mean that we need to
Look, that's the derivatives market. Look, I'm not saying it will be a derivative. I'm just saying that, you know, there's potential outcome. I firmly believe, and have said before, I believe XRP is a currency, but that does not mean that it could get a classification that could qualify it to fall in another category, but still operate with the utility that we even see the SEC recognize about its ability, because that's how it's written in the actual lawsuit. This gets more interesting by the day, but I tell you what, I really do feel like we are closer than people realize, than any of us even realize, because there is a tight group of these regulators that have known each other over their careers for a long period of time. And I believe that communication, that understanding about all of that helps them get to where they need to be even faster. Now, I believe the case itself has to happen because we have to have legal precedent, whether it settles legally out of court, just as long as we get a legal decision, because I want to remind everybody that Ripple is the first company behind the tech that you can actually call when there's a problem, which is also why they're hiring right now for people to help onboard central banks to be able to launch and issue stablecoins off of the XRP ledger. That's going to do it for me. Hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below. Make sure you share with somebody you know and hit that notification bell. Make sure you don't miss a thing. Who knows? Maybe we're just a hybrid token. Who knows? But I tell you what, this is something else, and I don't think we're far away from finding out what it is. All right, I'll catch all of you on the next one. Take care.